Jerry Mason, the Kickin Lawyer. So today we're going to review my recent powerlifting meet. So I decided a couple of weeks ago, I saw a powerlifting meet in Jefferson City, Missouri, and I decided that I was going to go and test my skills at this meet, and I thought I would give you sort of my reflections on the meet itself. And keep in mind, I've lifted weights my whole life, but I am not by any means a professional. I'm 46 years old right now, and I did compete in powerlifting a couple of times when I was 40, so 6 years ago. And the last year, part of why I wanted to do this powerlifting meet was last year, 2024, one of my personal goals was to squat 500 pounds. Now, I know for a lot of people, 500 pounds is probably not a lot of weight, but I had personally never done it, and I'd had a significant leg injury about 2.5 years ago, and was basically told that I could never squat again and that I should not lift weights, etc. And so I took that to mean that I needed to hit that goal and squat 500 pounds that I'd never done before. So I worked the whole year on it, and I did towards the end of the year, I did a couple of times squat the weight, but it was in the gym and, no regulation, no judges. And so part of me was like, you know what, I want to make sure it's official. So I decided that I would find a powerlifting meet and go and see if I could do one under competition regulations. That was one reason. And then the other reason was I'm going to the Arnold Classic this weekend, and I'm going as the head coach for the GTMA Global Taekwondo demonstration team. And we perform on the stage. We went last year. It was a lot of fun. We met Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was like, you know what? I really want to see kind of how my numbers are and see if there'd be a way for me to qualify maybe in the future to compete in the Arnold Amateur for powerlifting. So anyway, long story short, that's what I decided to do, was go, and my son, you'll see in the video, my son's with me. Austin, my middle son, went with me out of the kindness of his heart. Couldn't find anybody else to ride with me, and he did go with me. So we made the journey up there the Friday night before, and then the event organizer was great. The event was great. I enjoyed it. It was ran, I thought, well. And so for those that aren't familiar with powerlifting, so powerlifting consists of 3 lifts. You do a squat, you do a bench press and deadlift, and you get 3 attempts at each one. Now, as you go through the footage of my lifts, I have 3 different attempts on each one, and what I always do is my first attempt, I try to lift something I know I can manage really easily. And the reason is most powerlifters, you're not just competing in the individual lift, you're competing for the total, which is the total amount of weight that you've lifted amongst the 3 lifts. So my bench press, we'll start with squat. So my squat opener, I think, was 450 or 455 pounds, something like that, which is interesting because 6 years ago when I competed in powerlifting at 40, my max ever was 450. So I was doing this powerlifting meet with an opener that was the same as what my max used to be, which to me was an accomplishment. So I did, on the squat, I did 450, and then I think I did like 475 or 480, something like that, and then I did 502, I think. They ended up doing kilograms, so there's some screenshots you may see that shows it in kilograms, and I had to figure that in my head. But I did squat like 502 pounds officially in my 3rd attempt there, which I was super proud of. The other thing, before I talk about the other lifts, was interesting is when you go to these meets, they split you into these heats. So you're like in 2 different flights, I guess you would say, and they're based on strength. So some really big meets might have 3 or 4 flights. This one had 2. So you got the smaller folks usually were in the lighter flight. And what's interesting, when I competed 6 years ago, I was in the lighter flight, even though I was competing at a higher weight. I was competing at 265 6 years ago, and I'm about 5'11". This time I competed in the 242 division. I weighed in at, I think, 235. So I'm competing in a lighter division and older, and my lifts were all way better, so I was very pleased. But anyway, I was in the second flight. I was the bottom of it, but I was the second flight, and personally, I was just excited that I was in the second flight. So on my, bench press next. So bench press, I honestly didn't think I was going to hit my prior personal best. My prior personal best from 6 years ago was 325, and which again, I know for a lot of folks is not much. For me, it was a lot. Well, I've had shoulder issues and elbow issues, and I've had some just some recent ailments, and so I've really not been working on my bench press. So I did not anticipate hitting any PRs or anything fancy on the bench press. But shockingly, I did 330 on bench press on my third attempt, and I could have done more. Matter of fact, the event organizer pulled me aside and he was like, why didn't you do like 350? Because it moves so easy. And I'll explain in a minute why I think I did so well on these lifts, a couple of reasons. All right, so then I moved on to my deadlift. And on my deadlift, I started really light. And part of why I did that on the deadlift, so I've been deadlifting a lot. My goal this year is to do a 600-pound deadlift. But I went bowling on my birthday weekend with my kids, and I ripped a ligament out of my middle finger. So I felt it pop off. It was swole up. My middle finger was messed up. And in powerlifting meets, you can't use wraps or anything. And I always use Versa grips when I do pulling motions just to protect my hands a little bit. And so I wasn't sure my grip was going to hold out on the weight. So again, on deadlift, I was so happy over doing the squat and the bench press numbers that I got. I was like, we'll just see where we go on it. So I think I did something super light at the beginning, like 405 or something like that, 450 maybe, I don't remember. And then I did maybe 518 or 20, I'm not sure. And then I went ahead and decided to try to do a PR, and I think it was 562, which for me is a PR on the deadlift. And I did it fine. Again, I could have lifted more weight. So what I think affected my performance, one, I'm just stronger. So I think I have more muscle right now. I think I'm stronger than I've ever been. And even though I'm in my late 40s now, I am stronger than I've ever been. And I think it's because the way I've been lifting weights, I still regularly lift really heavy weights. And I just think that that's helped me. I think I'm just got old man strength maybe, for one thing. The second thing, though, is I'd never competed in a meet or trained with these calibrated steel plates, these kilogram plates. And also, this event had real good quality equipment. So like there was a bench press bar, a deadlift bar, a squat bar, and a monolift, a special rack for the bench press. All this equipment was very high quality, and I just honestly guess I'm not used to using the really good equipment. And I think on things like the deadlift, when you have those calibrated plates, steel plates that are in tighter than like on a bench, on a bar like this would be with traditional standard plates that are wider, as you're pulling the weight, it leaves the ground sooner, I guess. And I just felt like I had more leverage and strength on the pulls. And then of course there's an adrenaline component. Anytime you compete in anything, you're going to get some level of adrenaline. So saying all that, I'm going to let you guys watch all this footage. I'm sure Josh has probably overlaid some of it here. And, you know, it's not to brag about what I did, because my numbers I know are nothing compared to most people. But, you know, for me, powerlifting is a very independent, very individual competition. I wasn't really competing with anybody but myself. Now, I did set 4 or 5 Tennessee records. I think it was 4 records. That's right. I set the total record in my age division, and I set a record for my third attempts were state records for the squat, the deadlift, and the bench press in my age division, in my competitive division. But again, that's not necessarily bragging. It's just because people my age probably just don't do this very often. So I enjoyed it. It was motivational to me. I'm probably going to do another one. I hope next time maybe my youngest son, Jude, who's lifting weights some, may come and compete along with me. I thought that would be cool. But anyway, I thought you guys could take a look, and I don't know, maybe it'll inspire you because you're stronger than me already, or maybe you'll see that if a 46-year-old can do it, you can do it too.